Obsession was one of the first movies that seriously made me feel uncomfortable, and not because there was any unnecessary killing, gore, or jump scares that caught me off guard. It was because this performance just felt a little too real. I went and watched Obsession with my girlfriend, expecting some sort of romance thriller, and I walked out thinking, what would I do if I was ever in these characters' shoes, or what if my girlfriend ever turned out like that? It took around 20 days to film this movie. I couldn't believe it either. A movie this detailed with characters you get to personally know, a terrifying story with a very twisted plot, and scenes that make you want to jump out of your chair. Filmed within 20 days. Usually when you hear that a movie was filmed within that amount of time, you'd expect some sort of movie that was rushed. You might be thinking sloppy camera work, or not a significant plot, but instead we got a contender for movie of 2026. That by itself is something that is very difficult to achieve. I watched this movie in a packed theater, maybe the third day after its release, and it was amazing because I watched it with a crowd that actually reacts. Not anyone being obnoxious either though. And the best thing was that nobody was on their phone, nobody was on TikTok or Block Blast during this movie. That's like the same odds as finding a shiny Mewtwo. We gasped together, we all laughed together at those weird and odd scenes, and when things got uncomfortable, we all sort of felt that same energy. It was almost as if the whole atmosphere of the theater would change as soon as you felt Nikki doing something insane. Moments like this can really make a movie feel just that much better and make you really feel what's going on. Nikki was an amazing character, played so well by actress Indy Neverett. I'm happy she did such an amazing job because she really deserves all the love she's getting right now, and she really did scare me. As an actor or an actress, that's not something easy to do. Obviously, if you're some sort of serial killer, it's a bit easier. The way she became that character, being cursed with that one-wish willow and her basically being possessed, really made it seem like this person needed genuine help. As someone that has seen plenty of horror movies, I've had my fair share of experiences of being scared. However, the thing with Nikki was, it was just too realistic. That's one of the reasons why I felt so scared, because of how fast her emotions would switch. The way she'd move, the way she'd do that odd frown, the way she'd whine for Bear, it was just unsettling, but it didn't seem too far-fetched. We've all seen toxic relationships before, and maybe some of us experienced them. It's also how protective she was. One second she'd be crying, then before you know it she'd be back in his arms and smiling. But also one of the most terrifying parts would be when her real self would sneak out. There was a scene where the real Nikki was speaking while the possessed one was unconscious, just begging for Bear to end this. Throughout the movie, there were also a couple more scenes where her real self would slip out. I seriously had no idea what was gonna happen. That feeling of her just being truly so unpredictable is really one of the aspects of the movie that made it seem so amazing. Now I want to talk about Bear. This guy made me so mad. Much more than anything else. At some point in the movie, he could clearly see how messed up of a person he is, and he didn't want to help her. He just complained and let himself live in this delusion mixed with misery. There were moments where Nikki would cry, she'd beg, and then she'd hit him, and then the real version of her was slipping out, and she clearly did not want to be with him. And I think we all knew that since the beginning of the movie she rejected him. And he just couldn't take that for an answer, which, as much as I hate to say it, I do understand it. A lot of people get hung up over talking stages or people that they really wanted to be with, but to this extent is just ridiculous. He was a character that simply was just weak-minded. He couldn't take initiative, he was not someone that had any strength, and most importantly, he was stuck up and couldn't figure out any way how to get up and move on. So he just decided to try and control her, which is horrible. At the beginning, I understand that he didn't believe that the one-wish willow would work, but regardless, it's just insane that he kept going after he saw her beg and cry so many times. He decided to date the fake version of this person that he so desperately wanted, which really showed how weak of a man he is, that he's basically willing to take advantage of someone. And this is another thing that I mentioned before. It's the fact that this movie is just a little too realistic sometimes. Bear is someone that's a real person in the actual world. He doesn't have any superpowers, he's not insanely strong, he's just an insecure guy that just wishes the girl he'd like would like him back, and that made him make terrible decisions, and that's what made me dislike him so much. Moving on, one thing I always thought after the movie was, I wonder what charges Nikki caught after she was arrested. Obviously I know I'm not in a place to make any sort of claims or charges against Nikki. I'm simply just curious. Maybe after she caught her sanity back and went to court, she can explain everything that happened. Maybe they take her to a rehabilitation center, or they just don't listen and make her live a life in prison. Another thing that just made this movie so great was the atmosphere and the humor of this movie was just truly so strange. I had quite a few giggles while also feeling so uncomfortable at the same time. You usually see movies having a bit more of a comedy element or a horror element more than the other, but this movie did an amazing job with making us feel both of those elements, and when it comes to thriller movies, I really do think that Obsession will hold its place as one of the best. This isn't going to be a movie that I'm going to forget. that, it's going to be one that I'll remember for its terrifying nature, for its horrifying antagonist, and mind-twisting plot. This movie really did the job that a movie's supposed to do. It's meant to stay in your head for a bit, and that's what Obsession did. It's incredible because Curry Barker and the rest of his team really did put in so much effort into this movie, and it's one of those amazing feelings because you get to see the amount of work you put in finally paid off. They really displayed the difference from a good movie to a phenomenal movie, and that's what I mean by this movie did the job it's supposed to do. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you liked it, comment what you thought about this movie.